The mountain path was treacherous. Konstantinos did traverse its familiar twists and turns with the weariness of a man who had witnessed too much war. His armor, battered yet polished, did gleam under the fading light, a stark contrast to the grim determination etched upon his visage. He had joined the Crusades as a young man, full of zeal and righteous fury. Now he returneth hardened, his spirit heavy with the memories of battles fought and brothers lost. Konstantinos yearned for the peace of his mountain village, for the solace of his humble church. He rounded a bend in the path, and the silhouette of his village came into view. His heart ached with a familiar longing. But something was amiss. A palpable darkness hung over the village, a chilling miasma that sent shivers down his spine. It emanated from the church, once a beacon of hope, now a grotesque, shadowed monolith. His blood ran cold. An unnatural silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the wind whistling through the desolate mountain pass. Konstantinos broke into a run, his heavy armor clattering against his legs. He burst through the village gates, his eyes scanning the empty streets. Where were the villagers? Their absence sent a tremor of dread through him. He reached the church doors, his hand trembling as he pushed them open. The stench of sulfur and decay did hit him like a physical blow. His stomach churned. The church, his sanctuary, was desecrated. Unholy symbols marred the walls. Black candles flickered, casting grotesque shadows that did dance and twist. And in the center, a grotesque tableau did unfold. Demons, their forms shifting and writhing, did desecrate the altar. His heart did hammer in his chest. They were chanting, their voices a guttural rasp that did send chills down his spine. This was not the homecoming he had yearned for. This was a nightmare. Fear, cold and sharp, did threaten to consume him. He had faced countless foes in the Holy Land, but naught could have prepared him for this. These were creatures born of nightmares. For a moment he did freeze, the weight of their malevolence pinning him in place. His hand instinctively went to the hilt of his sword, but he knew this was not a battle that could be won with steel alone. He was outmatched, alone, and utterly unprepared. Despair did threaten to engulf him. He was but one man against a legion of darkness. His eyes fell upon the remnants of a shattered icon of the Virgin Mary, and a sob escaped his lips. This was his village, his home, his sanctuary. He would not let it fall without a fight. He drew his sword. The steel gleamed in the flickering candlelight, a beacon of defiance in the heart of darkness. But as he charged, he felt a wave of despair wash over him. His sword felt heavy, inadequate against the unholy might that confronted him. He struck out, his blows glancing harmlessly off the writhing forms of the demons. They were too many, too strong. He was tiring, his movements growing sluggish. Fear, sharp and cold, gnawed at his resolve. He was losing. Falling to his knees, his back against a cold stone wall, Konstantinos looked up at the defiled altar. His gaze fell upon the remnants of a shattered crucifix, and a surge of desperate faith welled up within him. He was not alone. He had the Lord on his side. "God, forgive my weakness," he cried out, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "Grant me the strength to vanquish this evil. I am but thy humble servant. Guide my hand and grant me victory." Silence didst descend upon the church. The demonic chanting did cease, the creatures didst turn towards him, their eyes burning with malevolent amusement. Then a voice, deep and resonant, didst echo through the church. 'Twas not the cacophony of the demons, but a voice of pure divine power. It didst resonate in his very bones, filling him with a power he hadst never known. "Konstantinos," the voice didst boom, "rise, mine servant." He didst look around, his heart pounding. He could not see the source of the voice, but its power didst resonate through him, chasing away the fear that hadst threatened to consume him. Slowly he didst rise to his feet, his gaze fixed on the spot where he hadst last seen the crucifix. The air didst shimmer, and a blinding light didst fill the church. He didst shield his eyes, his breath catching in his throat. "Thou hast served me well, Konstantinos," the voice didst continue. And he didst feel a warmth spread through his body, banishing the chill of fear and exhaustion. "But thy earthly weapons art no match for the darkness that infesteth this sacred place. Thou needest a power greater than thine own. The light didst intensify, and Constantinos didst feel a presence beside him, something ancient and powerful. Go, the voice didst command, to the river that floweth from the mountain. Plunge thy sword and shield into its waters, and they shall be imbued with the might of heaven. The light didst fade, and the church was silent once more. The demons didst watch him, their eyes narrowed in anticipation. But Constantinos didst feel no fear. He hadst been given a purpose, a divine mission. He wouldst not fail. He didst run. His legs, weary moments afore, did pump with renewed vigor. He did burst through the church doors and into the night. The village was deathly quiet, the air thick with the stench of sulfur. But he did not falter. He could feel the divine presence beside him, guiding him, urging him onward. He did reach the riverbank, its waters churning and frothing under the pale moonlight. Without hesitation, Constantinos did wade into the icy water. He did plunge his sword and shield into the current, and a blinding light did erupt from the riverbed. He did shield his eyes, but the light did seem to pierce through his eyelids, searing his very soul. He did feel a surge of energy, raw and potent, coursing through his veins. He did emerge from the river, his body glowing with an otherworldly light. His sword and shield, once simple steel, now did blaze with heavenly fire. He did return to the church, his steps lighter, his heart filled with righteous fury. The demons did shriek at his approach, their forms flickering as if in pain. He did meet their charge head-on, his sword a blur of fire, his shield a bastion of light. He did fight with a strength he had never known, his blows cleaving through flesh and bone, scattering the demons afore him. He was an instrument of God's wrath, and naught could stand afore him. But for every demon he did strike down, two more did seem to take its place. He was tiring, the divine energy that had filled him beginning to wane. He did falter, and a grotesque claw did rake across his chest, tearing through his armor. He did cry out, more in anger than pain, and did renew his assault. But his movements were sluggish, his blows lacking their previous force. He was one man against a legion. He was going to lose. "My lord," he did gasp, his voice hoarse with exhaustion, "I am thy servant, but I am weary. Grant me the strength to finish this fight." The church did rumble, and a voice filled with thunderous power did echo through the chamber. "Constantinos, thou hast fought bravely, but even the most faithful servant doth need aid in times of peril." The air did crackle with energy, and a figure did materialize afore him. He was tall, his wings spread wide, his armor gleaming with celestial light. In his hand he did hold a flaming sword, its tip pointed at the heart of the demonic horde. "I am Gabriel," the angel did boom, his voice like a trumpet blast, "and I have come to help thee finish this. Servant of Christ, you will not stand alone, you will not fall, you will not fade into the dark. Together we end this demonic horde."